It's the one and only scheduled debate for California's governor race before the November election. A field poll out today shows Governor Jerry Brown with 50% voter support compared to 34% for his opponent Neel Kashkari. Here with an analysis of the challenger and the race is my guest, UC San Diego political science professor Thad Kauser. Now, Thad, Governor Jerry Brown is seeking a historic fourth term, and today's field poll revealed that nearly 60% of the responders gave him he had a 60% job approval rating. So basically, can you highlight some of these big accomplishments that garnered him that rating?
Well, the governor set one task for himself when his term began, and that was balancing California's budget, this thing that had tripped up two governors, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Gray Davis, before him. He's done that. And he's also signed a moderate bill about regulating fracking in California, a minimum wage increase. He's done things that have delivered tangible results to California voters, and we see more money for schools, and so everyone's happy.
Well, on the flip side, the poll also found 40% of the responders said they didn't know Neel Kashkari well enough to either like him or dislike him. Can you tell us a little bit about who he is?
Yeah, Neel Kashkari, the Republican nominee, is a different kind of Republican, right? He's a practicing Hindu. He has a different sounding name. He's an immigrant from the state of Ohio, but his family has an immigrant background, and he's a fiscal conservative, but a very social moderate, even a libertarian. So he's pro same-sex marriage, pro-abortion rights, and he has this formula that has done well for other Republicans in the past in this state.
Except in this case, it seems like a lot of people, as that poll showed, either don't know him or don't know enough about him.
That's his problem. This has been a stealth campaign so far, and tonight's debate, which is coinciding with the opening weekend of the NFL, doesn't really do him any good, and he also doesn't have the money to make his pitch to Californians. He's got less than $1 million in the bank, and that buys you a few radio ads in the Central Valley, but nothing approaching that blasting TV ads that you need to make a campaign.
What are some of the issues that the candidates are going to talk about tonight?
Well, Neel Kashkari has been pounding the issue of the crazy train, Governor Jerry Brown's support for high-speed rail, which voters have turned against since we backed it in 2008. So Neel Kashkari will be doing that because it kind of isolates the governor's weaknesses. Governor Moonbeam, this guy's got some big ideas, but some of them are a little bit out there and crazy. He'll be talking about that. He'll be talking about different things for Republicans. He'll be talking about poverty. He'll be talking about how he lived on the streets of Fresno's homeless for 1 week. For 1 week. But 1 week longer than most of us have.
And as far as tonight's debate and the amount of time we have to go to November, is there enough time? You mentioned the money, enough time or money in order for him to have a chance?
Look, the Padres could still make it to the World Series, but I wouldn't bet on it. I wouldn't bet on Neel Kashkari, but something could go wrong, and political donors are like sharks that smell blood. So if they see Governor Brown making a mistake, maybe they'll dump the money into Neel Kashkari's campaigns that he needs to run it. But I think he's not running for governor in 2014. I think he's running in 2018 to set himself up for the future when we're not going to have to deal with Jerry Brown, the forever governor of California, and he wants to rebrand himself in the Republican Party.
You have jokingly said, is there a governor's race? So why do you think this race isn't getting the attention?
Well, last governor's race, we saw Meg Whitman spend $140 million of her own money to blanket the air with television ads, and that drives public interest, and then Jerry Brown had to respond, and the media had to cover it. This time, you see Neel Kashkari not spending anything, so Jerry Brown can leave all his money. He's got $22 million of it in the bank, and the news media isn't covering it as much as they normally do because voters just don't know about it and don't care.
No, what do you think this does for the GOP and the future thereof?
Well, I think having a candidate like Neel Kashkari, a new kind of Republican, is great for the Republican Party, and certainly his primary opponent, Tim Donnelly, former Minuteman, who would have come down tough against illegal immigration, that wouldn't have sold well. Neel Kashkari is doing fairly well among Latino voters, the field poll shows. He's broadening the base, and the idea is he's going to create a bigger tent. Not that many people are going to come to it with this election, but hopefully in 2018, Republicans hope they'll have a shot.
Political scientist Thad Kauser, thank you so much. And I want to let folks know that you can watch the governor's debate live right here on KPBS TV tonight at 7 o'clock.